At 4ZZZ, we acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we broadcast. We pay our respects to the elders past, present and emerging of the Turrbal and Jagera people. We acknowledge that their sovereignty over this land was never ceded.
And we stand in solidarity with them.
You're listening to Tranzmission on 4ZZZ, amplifying the trans and gender non-conforming voices of Brisbane and beyond.
Good morning, my darlings. You're listening to Tranzmission on 4ZZZ. My name is Sean, your host, The Abomination About Town, and my pronouns are now demanding a 10-month review into your existence. She, her.
My name is Hazel, and my pronouns are she, her. And not making any demands right now.
My pronouns are not demanding.
Yeah.
She, her. Well, my darlings, it's a delight to be back in the studio with you.
Absolutely, likewise. I'm so excited to be here.
So, everybody, I've been feeling pretty loved up this weekend from all the contact that I've had with community. If some of you have been like living under a rock with terrible Wi-Fi in a cave on Mars, there was a whole bunch of rallies held across Australia, organised by the Trans Justice Project. Some magnificent events. All up, what I'm seeing in the news, I'm still waiting for some slightly firmer numbers, but what I'm seeing in what's being reported in the press of somewhere in the vicinity of up to 8,000 attendees across all the events in Australia, with reportedly in The Guardian 2,000 to 3,000 here in Brisbane alone, and comparable numbers in Melbourne, which is just astounding. It's wonderful.
It's amazing. And you can really feel it too. When you were there, the size of the crowd regularly surprised me because I moved forward pretty quick at the start of the rally to get up near the speakers. And so I didn't really have a very good consciousness of how many people were behind me. And then at one point there was just a chant that started at the back. And it was like a murmur, and then it made it all the way forward, and I was like, oh my God, there's like...
Amazing.
So many more people here than I thought there was.
I was mooching around doing laps in my typical, like, on scumbag patrol, just to make sure. But, like, it was a really lovely event. There was not even the shadow or the inference of people misbehaving or doing the wrong thing or counter-protesting. I mean, I guess, you know, like, obviously because the rally was very much focused on the rights of healthcare for trans youth, for trans children, that's not a party that you crash and come away unscathed from. I think people would react very poorly to that. So it was a very safe, very nurturing, very kind event. But yeah, absolutely massive and delightfully so. During it, at one point, the speakers were like, "We underestimated the crowd, and the PA is a little bit a little bit underpowered for reaching such a distance." But that was, you know, that just kind of led to that magnificent vibe.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's really nice to see because it's easy to have a negative framework right now. It's easy to think negatively with all the stuff we're seeing in Australia, but particularly what we're seeing overseas in places like the UK and the US. But like you said before, we were talking off air, it sucks that it has to happen at this time that we see it, but it is genuinely so heartwarming to see such a level of community in response to this.
Yeah, absolutely.
It felt so safe there. It felt genuinely powerful there.
And, you know, shout out to individuals who wanted to be there but were not able to. Obviously, you know, zero judgment for anyone who had work commitments or family commitments or care commitments, or, you know, we are in a situation where being out of the house and being in large crowds such as that. There's some dear friends of mine who were not able to make it because quite simply it would have been a deeply unpleasant experience being in that environment despite the desire to support. So shout out to you all who were wanting to be there and there in spirit. We absolutely felt that. So currently, the state of affairs here in Queensland, for those not in the know, there is a 10-month review into transition care for people under the age of 18. And just to recap, that is a stoppage on stage 1 and stage 2 hormone therapy. For those who don't understand, stage 1 is purely puberty blockers, a reversible, very well-researched, very safe treatment to put a stop on the changes that a body undergoes that can only be, once they happen, the only option is surgery. There's a lot of discourse around like, oh, we're doing this for safety, but the reality is it's forcing children to be locked into a medicalised process when a medicalised and a surgical process in order for self-realisation, which is just a monstrous thing.
Yeah.
Stage 2 is the act of administering of alternate hormones in order to progress a body down a path of puberty. But yeah, to be clear, we're talking about a drug regime that is used to give children more time to consider who they are, who they want to be in their lives. And at a young age, being given that grace of more time to consider is an act of compassion and kindness. And the denial of that is quite explicitly a cruelty.
Mm-hmm. And, I mean, it's worth saying, like, even from the perspective of the people who don't trust these kids to know themselves, it's giving them the chance to be able to move forward successfully at an age where it's sort of agreed internationally that they are able to make that decision. Absolutely. It's allowing them to reach that point of, as people would see it, consciousness to make that decision without facing any sort of irreversible changes along the way.
I mean, as we are currently in Queensland, it is a state where it is a minor can be held criminally responsible and be treated as an adult and as having the faculties of an adult to understand the consequences of crime and could be, dealt with at that level, but but not when it comes to actually their own gender, the things that happen in the internal, universe of themselves. So I suppose the only word that I have for that is despicable. That's the situation that we're in.
For sure.
How else can you really describe that?
I think the other thing that's worth mentioning too is the way that this is a pause placed on the Queensland service. This is a pause placed on the government service in response to a claim made about a private service in Cairns. It's just kind of a bizarre move.
Well, I mean, it's tactics. Yeah. I mean, what we've seen in the last week or so, actually quite interestingly, leader of the Liberal Party, Peter Dutton, took time out of his busy schedule to have an interview with Sky News. Now, I mean, I know time is a precious commodity for him, considering he needs to spend a significant amount of time with the haunted mirror that keeps his mortal coil tethered to the shreds of his soul. And any time away from that process is a resource cost.
He's lost enough hair in the process.
Yeah. He's and he took the time to slither out of that mirror and have a conversation with Peter Credlin on Sky News about trans folk in sport. Now, as far as I know, there is no high-level Olympic athlete, A-level trans athletes, trans feminine athletes. We do have non-binary and trans masculine athletes, but they seem to not really get called out in the same way.
Of course.
So, we're talking about, children in sport and community sport. And I see a lot of connection between that and the statements of the Christopherly government here in Queensland. So after the Albanese's Labor government, federal Labor, announced that there would be a comprehensive review, when asked, would the Queensland State Review continue, Christopherly told the Brisbane Times that, quote, "We've decided to make sure that we do that review and that we do it in a way that has one factor, and that it is making sure that kids are safe. All kids. Kids in the program and other kids." And I read that and I'm like, what other kids are you talking about, bro? What is that in reference to? What, kids in the community who aren't trans and they have to interact with kids who are trans?
What's the endangerment being referred to
what are you conflating here?
Yeah.
And then of course, very shortly thereafter, federal conservatives come about and start talking once again about trans youth in sport. So we can see that they are starting to paint that picture because, we are coming up to an election and once again...
and I just can't wait for more sports discourse.
Oh, it's going to be great.
The most fun discourse.
Yeah, and we're going to have that. We're going to have that wonderful. We're going to have that wonderful thing where powerless talking heads, surrogates, will say absolutely awful things to the press, and then politicians just get to wink and nod and do a little cheeky dog whistle.
Yes, exactly.
And then hold up their hands and say, "Oh, I'm just looking for safety for children.
Just opinions I've heard.
Just opinions I've heard."
Yep.
But they still get to benefit from all the rancid, vile discourse that are demonizing, minorities. So it's nice that Peter Dutton was able to take time out of the hours that he needs to spend with the haunted mirror. Sorry, alleged haunted mirror.
Yeah, it's good to hear from the two Peters.
In order to, I don't know what portfolio he's at the moment, the portfolio of punching down. I mean, I'm not sure. So we'll see what happens in the next couple of months. So a reminder to everybody, stay strong, stay safe.
How many genders are there?
I don't know. I just got here.
Hello, my darlings. You're listening to Tranzmission on 4ZZZ. My name is Sean. I'm the Abomination About Town, and my pronouns are on the right side of history.
Wow. My name is Hazel, and I think my pronouns are still she, her.
Probably.
Yeah.
We now, our correspondent on the ground, Alexis Pink, did manage to capture audio of quite a few of the speeches, and we wanted to play some of them for you. A lot of the speakers were people who had been previously interviewed by Bet here for Tranzmission, and they, told those stories again to the wider, broader crowd, which was wonderful to see. Mm-hmm. These are people sharing deep, personal anecdotes about their children and the difficulty that they've been facing. Truly heartbreaking stuff. But we did have some representatives from the community which were magnificent, and we wanted to play some of them for you now.
Yeah, I mean, I was just genuinely, I was moved by it. It was, I'd heard a lot of it, of course. I was on the show where we played the interviews, and I thought those interviews were very powerful, but it was something else to see them directly sharing this to a huge crowd. It's kind of like we've removed that wall that is here with radio. Radio gives you the chance, but to broadcast to so many people, but to have all of those faces right there cheering these people on, and the fire that was in the hearts of some of these parents, of some of these community members.
Oh, it was astounding.
Genuinely invigorating.
Oh, there was a real vibe of F around and find out. Don't.
It was powerful.
Oh, yeah.
It's long past the please help kind of feeling.
There was that real sort of mess with the mama bear. You're going to find out. My dude, you are going to find out.
Absolutely.
All right, so we've got a couple of recordings here. We're going to play you some of Aaminah Khan, who is the president of the LGBT legal service. They are a magnificent service. I just want to shout that out to them. If anyone out there is ever in struggle or strife, if you need support, in legal matters, please do call the LGBT legal service. They are astounding, and the unfortunate situations where I've had to make contact with them when my life has fallen apart last year, they gave nothing but kindness and compassion and understanding. So please know that there are people out there who will look after you, and this is one of them.
You're so tall. Hi, my name's Aaminah. I use they, them pronouns. I'm a lawyer working and living usually on Woolgoorookabar country, Gurrumbil Borough, so-called Townsville, and also on Bookerman, Palm Island. I am also, as Jodie said, the president of the LGBTI legal service, but that is only part of why I'm here today. I'm here today because for the past, it'll be 3 years in April, I have been a patient of a Queensland gender clinic, Northwood Sexual Health. Shout out to Dr. Menon, he's a real one. And I want to tell you about how being a patient at that clinic has saved and changed my life. I think of my adult life as a series of milestones. The first time I ever came out to a romantic partner as non-binary. The first time a romantic partner broke up with me for being non-binary. The first time I came out to my parents, to the rest of my family, to the world. The first time I cut my hair short, wore men's clothes in public. The first time I called, after years, the gender clinic to do an intake. The nurse said, "Don't worry, you've come to the right place. We're going to take care of you." And I burst into tears. The first time I saw a psychiatrist to sign off on my informed consent, and he told me that he wouldn't because this was a mental illness and I was doing it as a way of self-harming. The next time I talked to a psychiatrist who said, "You're an adult, you're of sound mind, go get the hormones." And the day that I started them, the 5th of April, 2022. The last time I tried to die, then the last time I wanted to die, then the first time I woke up and actually wanted to get out of bed and live my life. That was almost 3 years ago, but like so many people here know, my story didn't start there. I think I was 4 years old the first time I knew that something about me was different. I spent all of my childhood feeling like I was failing at being a girl. I looked around at kids my age who just seemed to know something about how to be themselves that I did not. At the time, I'm a 90s kid, there was very, very little trans representation on TV, and almost none of it was positive. I grew up in a very religious family. The people around me did not talk about being queer or transgender with any kind of love or affection or even respect. I had no way of knowing that this was the thing about me that made me different from others because I had no language for it. I didn't know what trans people were until I was a teenager. I went to an all-girls Catholic high school. I wasn't exactly surrounded by positive role models. Though I do want to say, in my cohort of about 100, at least 2 of us have come out as trans since graduating. And when I came out, some of the first people to offer me love, support, and affection were teachers from that school. I was quite a bit older when I realized that I had a condition, gender dysphoria. The reason that I was never able to look in the mirror and see someone who looked like what I saw on the inside. The reason that no matter how many people said nice things to me or complimented me or liked the way I looked, I didn't like the way I looked. And it took me years and years to do something about it because I was afraid. Because I grew up in a state with gay panic. I grew up in a country where marriage between 2 people, same gender attracted, was not legal. I grew up in a police state with deaths in custody and police brutality and laws designed to criminalize us out of existence. Well, I'm a lawyer, and I'm here to tell you that no state, no government, no court, no society can criminalize or legislate us out of existence. Trans kids don't usually come from trans parents. More of us will keep being born. You can make it illegal for us to exist, but we tend to be gay, do crimes anyway. The Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said, "Never forget that everything Hitler did in Germany was legal." But when the law is unjust, the law has to change. When policies are unjust, policies have to change. And when our society is unjust, society has to change. To paraphrase Archbishop Desmond Tutu, we do not want crumbs. We want the full menu of life. When you need healthcare, when you see a doctor, it shouldn't be political. When you are talking about medicine that will save your life, it has saved mine, as it has saved the lives of so many people here today, or their friends, or their families, or people in their communities. When you are in that situation, you should not have to clear it with the party. Make sure it fits the party line to be able to get the care you need to save your life. I promised Jody I wouldn't talk too long, so I want to finish by reading the words of Leslie Feinberg, the legendary lesbian and transgender activist, author of Stone Butch Blues. They said this in 2003. He said, "I am typing these words as June 2003 surges with pride. What year is it now as you read them? What has been won? What has been lost? I can't see from here, I can't predict. But I know this. You are experiencing the impact of what we in the movement take a stand on and fight for today. The present and past are the trajectory of the future, but the arc of history does not bend towards justice automatically. As the great abolitionist Frederick Douglass observed, without struggle, there is no progress." They finished by saying, "The last chapter of this saga of struggle has not yet been written. So all of you today, you are part of writing the last chapter of our ongoing saga of struggle. I don't know from here what the world will look like 5 or 10 or 20 years from now, but the movement that we start and build today is going to save children's lives in the future." are human rights because trans people are human.
That was Aaminah, president of the LGBT legal service, talking about their experience with transition and the process of them being allowed to take hormones.
Amplifying the voices of the trans and gender non-conforming community of Meanjin, Brisbane and beyond.
Transmission on 4ZZZ brings you the latest in trans community news, music and events.
Every Tuesday from 9am till 10am.
Join our team of hosts for an hour of celebrating the unique perspectives of the trans community.
Transmission, Tuesday mornings from 9am till 10am on 4ZZZ.
When trans lives are under attack, what do we do? Stand up, fight back!
Dragon, by the way, so cool. Yeah! Thank you. My name is Leah. I'm a proud disabled transgender woman and advocate for transgender healthcare. Such an incredible opportunity to speak here in front of you all today, but I wouldn't be truthful if I didn't say that I'm frustrated. I'm frustrated that we would be here. I'm frustrated that the Queensland government is choosing a culture war over established medical guidelines. We are living through a time when transgender healthcare is under attack across the globe. But as someone who knows firsthand the life-saving, transformative impact of this care, I stand here today with more determination than ever. I'm not just speaking for myself, I'm speaking for every trans person who is forced to access the healthcare they need, for those who are still fighting, and for those who will come after us. Seeing all of you...
Leah, be louder.
Okay. Seeing all of you here today gives me so much hope. Hope that together we can rise against these injustices, protect the right to live authentically, and ensure that no one is denied the care they need to thrive. Today, all across Australia, we stand for justice, for equality, and for the future of trans healthcare in this country. I'm speaking here today to share my journey as a transgender woman, as well as my lived experience of accessing gender-affirming care from the Queensland Gender Service. For me, gender-affirming care isn't simply medical appointments or a prescription. It's about having a chance to live freely as your authentic self, to feel comfort and safety in your own body, and to experience a sense of profound happiness at the person you see in the mirror. Because for so long, I stared at a reflection that felt like a stranger. No matter how hard I tried, I just couldn't see me. When I started high school, I repressed these feelings for many years. But as I'm sure many of you know, it doesn't really work that way. Some say transitioning is a choice, but for me, it was life or death. I came out as trans at the beginning of 2022, but I was stuck on a waitlist to access gender-affirming care for over a year. Even getting on that waitlist took even longer. Although I'm incredibly grateful for the low-cost, comprehensive healthcare provided by the Queensland Gender Service, the first year after coming out was the most difficult. Transitioning has been the most transformative experience of my life. It's hard to put into words the joy I feel now, but it's like the world has shifted from black and white into colour. For the first time, I can look in the mirror and see me. Not a stranger, not a mask, but the person I was always meant to be.
You're beautiful!
The weight of dysphoria that I carried for so long is gone, and in its place, a sense of peace, happiness, and belonging. Transitioning didn't just save my life, it gave me a life worth living. And every day, I'm grateful for the chance to live authentically, because this is the happiness I never thought possible. And it's a happiness I want for every single trans and gender-diverse person. I know with absolute certainty that my happiness in transitioning isn't a unique experience. In fact, it's the complete opposite. To give everyone some context, 12% of people regret getting a tattoo. The average regret rate across all surgeries is estimated at 14%. But what about gender-affirming care? Because so often, so many of those arguing against access to gender-affirming care suggest that transgender people consistently regret their decision to medically transition. So maybe, after hearing this argument countless times, repeated by lawmakers and anti-trans activists alike, you could think, hey, maybe they're right. Anyways, back to reality, it's less than 1%. Let me be clear. This care is not experimental, it's not a trend, it's not a fad, it's comprehensive and it's not something people take lightly. Supported by decades of research and endorsed by every major medical association, from the Australian Medical Association to the World Health Organization. When trans people thrive, our families thrive, our communities thrive. I've seen the joy of my partner, my family, and my friends' faces when they see me living as my authentic self. I felt the strength of a community that stands together, fights together, and heals together. Gender-affirming care isn't just about survival, it's about building a world where everyone can thrive. The ban implemented by the State Health Minister isn't a policy, it's an act of cruelty. In 2024, the LNP voted to ban gender-affirming care for minors as part of their party policies. In 2023, I witnessed firsthand as the LNP voted against the Births, Deaths and Marriages Registration Act, allowing trans and gender-diverse people easier changes of their sex markers. It is abundantly clear that this ban doesn't arise from genuine concern, but from their own ideological beliefs about trans people. Even the Federal Health Minister himself believes that this decision is an overreaction, ignoring extensive evidence in favour of a fear-mongering culture war. And it's a decision that we know will have devastating consequences. Because when you deny someone access to gender-affirming care, you're not just denying them a medical treatment, you're denying them the chance to live. Rather than blocking the expansion of the Queensland Children's Gender Service and denying life-saving care to our trans youth, the government should implement the full recommendations of the 2024 independent review into the QCGS. This would ensure that trans youth receive the specialised, affirming care that they deserve. The government should... The government should also restore the funding that was already pledged to the QCGS, allowing it to expand services and set up additional clinics so that young trans people across our state can access the care they need closer to home. Most importantly, the ban on puberty blockers and hormone treatments for under 18s must be reversed. This healthcare is essential, safe, and supported by decades of medical evidence. Every day that this ban remains in place, more lives are put at risk. The government has a choice. They can either stand on the right side of history or they can continue to perpetuate harm. The decision is theirs, but the fight is ours. Thank you so much for letting me share my story, my struggles, and my hopes for a better future for us all. We're showing this country that trans people are not a political issue. We are human beings with dreams, with families, with lives worth fighting for. Gender-affirming care is not just a medical necessity, it's a human right. To everyone here today, thank you for standing with us. Thank you for showing up, for speaking out, for refusing to back down. Together, we can rise against these injustices. Together, we can protect the right to live authentically. And together, we can ensure that no one is ever denied the care they need to thrive. This is our moment, this is our fight, and we will not stop until this ban is overturned. Thank you.
QLife is Australia's first nationally oriented counselling and referral service for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender and intersex or LGBTI people. QLife provides peer-supported telephone and web-based services to diverse people of all ages. They help callers with a range of issues relating to sexuality and gender, including coming out, as well as more general issues such as relationship problems. So remember, you can call the QLife line daily from 5:30pm till 10:30pm on 1800 184 527. And for online chat and support, go to qlife.org.au.
There was numerous speakers, and there was quite a lot of wonderful things said all across. But there was a few additional speakers that were elected members representing their various parties. Mm-hmm. I'd like to play a little bit of that now. Acknowledging the fact that, while Tranzmission is a platform for the trans and gender diverse voices in this country, in this town, in this state, I am going to play you the audio from some cisgendered people, so forgive me.
Oh my god!
Oh my god! I'm going to get there's going to be a 10-month review into me for doing this.
But cisgender people with political power.
Indeed, and the fact that they are supportive of the cause and actively wanting to resist the things that are going on. Here's Stephen Bates, the federal MP for this electorate for Brisbane.
Can everyone hear me? Yeah! When trans rights are under attack, what do we do? Stand up like that! What do we do? Stand up like that! Louder, what do we do? Stand up like that! Yes! You all look... This is amazing, and I just want to say... Sorry, I'm just so blown away by all these speeches. I want to first acknowledge the traditional owners of the land we're meeting on today and pay my respects to elders past and present and acknowledge that sovereignty was never ceded and treaty has yet to be signed. Aboriginal land, always was, always will be. I also want to say thank you to all the incredible speakers that have spoken before me, especially a previous speaker. That story was so moving and really got to me and made me choke up a little bit. So sorry if I'm a bit all over the place with this speech. I had a plan, but it's all gone to shit. We are all the same, and I love all of you. This decision from the LNP state government, I think we all knew in our hearts that something like this was going to happen, but I think it is another thing when it happens to all of us. When they attack any part of our community, it is an attack on all of our community. And I think it is so important to remember that even if you are not a trans person, but you are a member of the queer community like I am, or you are just someone that supports the crazy premise of equality, you need to be out there, you need to be talking to your friends and family, you need to be having those difficult conversations, and we all need to be coming together like this, because there are so many more of us than there are of them. We've heard a lot about the rise of the far right, and we're seeing that not just in the United States and around the Western world, we are seeing that here in this country as well. They may have the money, but we have the people. We have the power. And you need to remember that when you see these insane billboards from Advance Australia and Australians for Prosperity, you need to remember the only reason they can do that is because they are backed by a bunch of loser right-wing millionaires and billionaires that think that they can buy the outcome of elections. Indeed. And we are here to tell them that they cannot do that. But the majority of people in this country support trans people, support the queer community, support universal health care, because that is what we are debating right here in this state at the moment. Whether or not everyone gets access to fundamental, life-saving, transformative health care. And I think... And they should have access to that. And I'm sorry that we have to be here in the heat in the middle of summer, still having these conversations, still having these debates. But I think everyone who is here, who is a member of a minority group who is queer, knows that the fight is never over. That is something we have to accept in our community, that there will always be the forces of darkness who want to take our rights away from us. And that is why it is so incredible to see all of us here together, standing up against hatred and standing up against the rise of the far right in this country and around the world. Because at the end of the day, everyone needs to know that a GP's office is too small to fit a GP, a patient, and the coalition party room. They have no business. They have already shown us time and time again, they don't care about science, they don't care about human rights, they don't care about anything that doesn't enrich their donors. That is the be-all and end-all of their existence. And it is our responsibility to stand up and fight back against that on behalf of our community and on behalf of all communities that are being oppressed and targeted by governments at local, state and federal level. I won't talk for much longer because I'm just the opening act for Nico. But I want to say thank you so much, all of you for coming out, and especially all the people standing behind the sign here. There are so many people behind here as well. And I will leave you with, when trans rights are under attack, what do we do? Stand up, what do we do? Stand up, what do we do? Stand up, thank you.
That was Stephen Bates of the Greens, federal member for Brisbane. Your federal member for Brisbane, speaking at the Protect Trans Youth rally on Saturday, just gone.
When trans lives are under attack, what do we do? Stand up,
Thank you very much. Can I acknowledge the Jagera and Turrbal people, traditional owners on the land on which we gather, and offer my respects to elders past, present and emerging. I am very proud to be here to support the trans community as the Shadow Minister for Health on behalf of the Labor opposition. And I'd like to acknowledge all my colleagues here today, Grace, Di Farmer, Mel McMahon, Barbara O'Shea, Renee Coffey. We stand in solidarity and support of the trans community. As Labor, we believe in universal health care. We introduced Medicare. We decriminalised abortion. We brought in voluntary assisted dying. Why? Because we believe every single person, whoever you are, no matter what your means, deserves health care. And what we've seen, one of the first acts of the new Crisafulli LNP government is to actually prevent access to health care. And shame on them. What we have here is, let's be very clear about what this issue is about. There have been some issues raised about a service in Cairns. If there's an issue there, it should be looked at, just like any other part of the healthcare system should be. There has been no issue at all raised in relation to the Queensland Children Gender Service. None. Quite the contrary. The independent inquiry called and delivered by the Miles Labor government by Associate Professor John Allen found that service is compliant and is consistent with international and national protocols and models of care. It found that it was a good service and it was doing good things as part of our universal healthcare system. That's the fact. That's the fact. And what we've seen from the Crisafulli government is, because there's an issue that needs to be looking at in far north Queensland, they've conflated that issue to prevent any new patient coming into the Queensland Children's Gender Service here. Two entirely separate issues. They are playing to their hard right base, and they are using the trans community and trans kids and families to gain political advantage. That is disgraceful. One of the first acts of the new government is to cut off healthcare for a section of our community, and that they should be condemned for that, and they should be exposed for that. I've been speaking to parents this week of kids who are affected by this, and they are obviously, I stand in awe of the parents that have spoken already here today, the challenges they've got when it's their children who are being denied healthcare in Queensland. I support them 100%. And, one of them said to me, she's here today, she said to me, this idea from the Sky News sort of anchors that parents are manipulating this for children. I can't get my kids to pick up their clothes, let alone changing their gender. It's just an absurd idea. It's an absurd idea. What we need from this government is for them to understand what this community is about. Not to politically exploit them, not to deny you your universal, your human right to get health care. We need them to understand this issue. I know they're conservatives, but that's no excuse to lack compassion, to lack understanding, and to lack and to block health care for people in Queensland. So we stand with you. We will fight for you. We will work with you in partnership. this situation will be dealt with at some point. We want it dealt with as soon as possible. And if this government had any heart, had any courage, they would deal with this now, so that everybody here is included as part of our universal healthcare system. Can I just say in closing, I welcome Mark Butler and the federal Albanese government bringing in their national review with a body that's reputable, being the National Health and Medical Research Council, to do a national review, because the last thing I want to see, to be frank, is some trumped-up, manipulated outcome here in Queensland that has got no credibility, then being used by those Sky News anchors and others as some sort of template for a national approach. That's the last thing we want to do. So I welcome the Albanese government bringing in their review, and you can see the integrity of the state Christopher government, because the federal health minister said Queensland should now cooperate with the national review so that we've got a consistent national guideline, and drop their inquiry, and they refused to do that. So we can see what their agenda is here. So I welcome the federal government's review. It is done by a body that is about doctors. We want doctors and patients making medical decisions, not decisions dictated by government.
Open Doors Youth Service is a South East Queensland support service for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender and or intersex youth aged 12 to 24 and their families. Open Doors believes that all young people have the right to explore, experience and express their gender and sexuality in safe and supportive environments, and offers a range of programs and counselling services, as well as support services for parents of LGBTI youth and community education and training. For more information, visit their website at www.opendoors.net.au. Sponsors of 4ZZZ.
My name is Sean. You're Abomination About Town, and my pronouns don't throw vulnerable youth under the bus for votes. She, her.
Wow, good on your pronouns. Apparently, it's very easy to do.
Well, you'd think it would be the bare minimum to not.
My name is Hazel, and my pronouns were she, her, and they are still she, her.
That's good. It's good to know. Yeah. I mean, your consistency is lovely.
I just want to keep everyone updated.
It's good to keep reminding people of that. Yes, that was some audio from the rally on the weekend. There was numerous magnificent speakers, all across that, and that's all audio that was captured by Alexis Pink at those events. And we're going to be playing snippets of that over the coming weeks to remind people that, there are not just members of the community, but also individuals who are in positions of power who absolutely support the fight to ensure that transgender youth and all transgender people have access to appropriate healthcare.
Yeah, I think especially things are going to get heavier as time goes on.
Absolutely.
We're seeing the direction, we know which way the wind's blowing. It's important to remember that whilst the trans community is powerful and we need to empower each other, it's an expanded fight. It's the whole LGBTQIA plus community. It's everyone.
Absolutely. And I know that there's probably a lot of discourse within the community about, who our allies are and what sort of support that we should be taking. On that weekend, the Queensland Shadow Health Minister, Mark Bailey, also spoke and said a lot of really wonderful things about the commitment to trans healthcare and the support of the community. I know that there is complicated relationships in the community between Labor and Labor governments and and queer folk. I'm not trying to flatten or erase that in any way, but right now on that issue, those individuals are pledging their support. Great, good support. If they don't, consequences.
Yeah.
But, that's...
If they make a pledge, it's now on us to hold them to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
See that pledge fulfilled.
Give them the grace to attempt to fulfill it, and if they do not, they will hear about it.
Of course. Yeah.
That's the great thing about it all. So, we're going to be finishing up in a few minutes. Just a few little announcements. I want to say to everyone that, I don't like to tell people to be strong. I like to tell them to stay strong. Because at the end of the day, you all are strong, especially individuals who have been exploring their gender, these young folk who have been through these brutal processes of self-examination. It is a very hard thing to come through, and I am astounded by the strength that these young folks have.
For sure.
In order to endure. So I'm not asking you to be strong and endure. I'm saying stay strong and endure, because you already are, honey. You already are.
Yeah. Right now, the goal is to overwhelm you. There are so many rough things happening. People are trying to overwhelm you. So take time to also respect your health. Take time to not pay attention for a little bit. Take time to focus on just one thing. Look after yourself, because it's going to be a bit of a long haul. And the thing we're doing is we're trying to ensure everyone's health. So look after yourself, contribute where you can, but also respect your own time, respect your health.
Absolutely, and connect with community. I was, I lay my head down on the pillow on Friday night, and I was full of dread. I did not sleep. And I woke up on Saturday morning having barely slept and thinking, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can face the day and go out into the world. But, I did the thing. I filled my boots and realized that being in the presence of community made me feel invincible. Being around people who were like me, who I knew that if anything had happened to me, if I stumbled and fell, I knew that there would be hands to help me up. And so I would like to, remind everyone that if you are in a situation where you don't have connections to community, honey, you've got to find them. Come on down to 4ZZZ. There is a magnificent community of kind and compassionate trans and gender non-conforming folks here.
Always looking for more help.
Always looking for help for the station broadly, and also help for the show. There is numerous avenues out there. I've had the unfortunate instance recently of speaking to individuals who are trans who are completely disconnected from community and didn't see the value in attending on the weekend, which was heartbreaking. Because their identity is not part of a community. And I'm going to take it on myself to try and put more community into their lives. But they would have benefited from being there. All right, so as we're coming up on the hour, I'm going to do a shout-out to you all, tell you that I love you, do a shout-out to the conservative armchair media monitors out there who are no doubt frothing at the fact that I've been making jokes about haunted mirrors.
And I also want to do a non-ironic shout-out to the amazing people involved with making those recordings, Alexis and Bed with the interviews. It's been fantastic, it's been important, and I'm glad. Yeah,
absolutely. Stay safe, be strong. Stay strong.
Dang it! Thank you so much for listening to Tranzmission. See you next Tuesday, 9 to 10 a.m. on 4ZZZ.